chaos. Well, welcome to Domain to Profit. I am Drew Wash. If you are watching on Restream, would love to have you join us live if you ever can, but I get that 3 p.m. it's busy time for many. So join us if you live if you can. Otherwise, just make sure you let us know that you visited us with a comment. Let us know of any questions or anything else down below. We would love to hear from you. So today we have a fun little show where we are going to do what it is that we do. We're going to be looking through expiring domain names over on expireddomains.net. We're going to be doing that later on. But first, before we do that, I have spent some time pulling together, and I want to show you how much I have spent on domain names over the course of my career or life in domain names. So we're going to go through that, and you will be shocked, as I was, by the amount. So in the chat, I'm very curious. Place your bets, your bets, your guesses. Guess as you wish. How much do you think I spent on domain names over the course of my 20 years buying domain names? So let us know in the chat. Let us know you're here. We are going to get going, but first, it's time to say hi in the chat and get things moving. See you after this.
From domain to profit, from a .com to a business idea. Take a domain name, develop an income from domain to profit. We'll show you how. Domain to profit, from domain to profit. Join Drew Wash and get started right now.
Michael, nice to have you. Nice to see you as well. Matt, hello. Jeremiah, nice to see you as well. And Matt's saying he can't guess because he thinks he already knows. He's going to be close to accurate, but I may have possibly cheated and added some more domain names just to keep him off. So, okay. Well, and there you go. Arif, nice to have you as well. Nice to see everybody popping in. And here's that's an interesting guess, Jeffrey. And then let me see. Yep, finally joining live, watching many. I'm glad to have you. I've seen you've made it a couple times, so nice to have you with us again. This is exciting stuff. Like I enjoy looking back. I enjoy looking back over the many years. It's something I don't do enough. How do you do? Do you look back? And not just look back, do you look back and then see what lessons you have learned, where you've come, how far you have come? It's crazy to the journey that I share occasionally here, just talking about my journey in domain names. It's been mind-blowing. So when I get to see the actual number, when I go through the calculations, and I'm going to show you a little bit of how the places I've bought domain names and so on, join me on this journey. So I hint at it a little bit, but basically I'm the son of a truck driver. And I grew up in this little town it's called Laughlin. It's just north of Cincinnati. It's this little suburb. Smallest public high school in Southwest Ohio. I graduated with like 35 people. And I share this because it was a small high school, and we were broke. Like, it was a poor high school. I was a poor kid, son of a trucker, dual income house. The one blessing I truly had is my parents stayed together and survived and did what they need to provide for us and the kids, my siblings. And I remember thinking when I was younger about like money and how much you make over the course of a lifetime. And to me, that was always framed as like how much my dad made. How much do you make versus your parents? Growing up, it was one of those things where I always thought that the purpose of life, and I don't know if somebody explained this to me over time or not, but I always felt like the purpose of life was to make sure that your kids do better than you. maybe my parents explained it to me that way, or talked about that idea of their purpose was to make sure that I did better than them, and that all of us kids did better than them. And is that a philosophy that you had growing up as well? Have you heard that kind of philosophy? Do you have that with your kids? So when I ran back and went through this journey and started to look up all the numbers, wow, this journey that domain names have taken me on has been, it's been insane. It's been insane. I was telling my daughter just this morning, sitting while she ate her breakfast and stuff, she was telling me the story of somebody that she met, and they overcame all these different things, and they went on this journey to become like a map maker or something like that. Something random, some random journey. And I said, you know what? I've been on quite the journey, and that journey has led me to domain names. Like that person ended up making maps or something. I have found domain names, and that is why I'm here 138 weeks now, here talking to you about domain names, not just because I've went and spent a bunch of money, but because of what they have created. The numbers I'm going to share with you today, the amount of money I have spent on domain names is only possible because of domain names. Like, truly. So, thank you for everybody popping in. I see another guest here. We got 485. I saw some on Twitter as well. I think 800,000 on Twitter and so on. So here's how we're going to do this. I am going to go out to the interwebs. We're going to look over the main different marketplaces that are out there. I'm going to share with you, basically how I calculated the funds, the amount that I have bought or purchased. So I'm working on pulling that up. And so first, let me start here. This is expireddomains.net. We see this each week. And what we do on expireddomains.net is we spend most of our time in this second tab here, the marketplace domains, specifically the GoDaddy expired domains up there. So our filters all run. In fact, you can see the filter option up in the corner there if you want to scan and know where to get those filters. That is where you'll find the filters. In fact, I'm going to actually take that off. It wasn't supposed to be up there yet. Let me see if, okay. So if you got it, you got it. If you're going to have to wait. So the GoDaddy expired domain names are where we spend most of the time, but occasionally I will mention that there are other places you can buy domain names. And over the course of my 20-some years in domain names, I've spent time at each of the different auction houses or places that you could buy expiring domain names, and you'll find many of them here. For example, you have GoDaddy. It does appear that, in fact, I think I've heard this, but actually they're not there anymore. But Dropcatch is another one of them up above my head. Namejet was one. Snap Names. They used to be listed here, but it appears that they've all been consolidated or just no longer share their data with expireddomains.net, which is very possible. I'm sure in the log here behind me, it talks about it. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go back through some of these different domains, marketplaces. For example, we'll start where I think I started, which is SnapNames. So snapnames.com. SnapNames was one of the main registrars that were out there, or expired domains. So just like we look at GoDaddy domains each week, the domain names would expire and then they would come up for auction. Now, SnapNames was partnered with a website registrar named Network Solutions, which if you've ever had to deal with them, you know they're like the worst registrar there is, which is why GoDaddy now exists. But most of the domain names in the world were being registered at Network Solutions at first, and SnapNames was where their expired auctions went through. So they used to be very, very popular. 2004 is when this first domains. So I got started on GoDaddy, or on Snap Names here. 2004 is that first auction I had on Snap Names. So what I went and did was log into my Snap Names account, went to my account, my purchase history, and then changed this back here for all dates to pull that, and I downloaded that into a spreadsheet, which is where we're doing all of our, where we did our calculations. So you can see here, started back in 2004. 2004 is when I started over on Snap Names. Let me just see real quickly. The highest price domain name I've purchased here at Snap Names was bartenders.com, autotransporter.com, and autotowing.com here. You'll see, so here's a couple of the domain names. These are, Bartenders was the most expensive, $50,000. And then let's see here if I can get them up on the same screen. It's all spread out, but over here you can see autotransporter.com was pre-towing.com. So that was an early domain name, $26,000 that I paid for that one. That was the first time that I put a domain name on a line of credit. That's when I set up my domain name line of credit. So I don't talk about Autotransporter enough, but that was that first big price domain name, $26,000. I was 2006. I mean, I was a 20-something-year-old kid, very much 3 years after practically going broke because my business was all based on search engines back when I first got married, which I know is 2003. And my business was based on search engines. So I relied on Google ranking the websites I built, and they were all built on random domain names at that point. And in 2003, Google bombed a bunch of my sites, and my revenue like plummeted. And we drained our accounts to buy a house and so on. And long story short, panic mode, my business had to change, and that planted that scar tissue in my brain of SEO and counting on Google is not a good thing. It's like dangerous to not be able to handle your own future, to count on a big company like that. So part of, you hear that here often on Domain to Profit, is don't count on Google. We need an alternative path, which is where domain names came in. And that's also why I was willing to pay $26,000 for Autotransporter there, Auto Towing following up, and that, of course, led me to towing.com. So the other place that you could buy domain names was namejet.com. You may know this one. Namejet is a pretty popular one that I had. I've spent quite a bit over there as well. In fact, let's see here. My first one over at Namejet, it's tough to see, but my first one was actually wheellifts.com. 2009 was the first time I got involved over here on Namejet. The most expensive one I've purchased on Namejet, let's find out. Well, it's a little complicated, but DJs.com. So you can see these here. DJs.com. Namejet, a lot of what they did, they were the first ones to, or they were the company that handled the NamesCon live auctions for many years. So that is why DJs.com shows up here. That was a live auction domain name. So $130,000 is what I paid for that. The secret or the unknown behind that was we set up a line of credit for $240,000. That was going to be our max bid. We managed to get it for $130,000, which I was very happy with. So, but you can see there, bodyguards.com and wedding photos and a few others that were all up on there. So finally, that brings us over to GoDaddy Auctions, which has been a long time as well. Feel free to ask questions as well as we go, or as I'm giving the history, you can see some of these numbers adding up. You can let me know. Keep guessing as you kind of pull it together. So over on GoDaddy, I know they work really hard on the new stuff, but I don't like it. So give me 1 second while I pull up the view I do prefer. Okay. So same thing over on GoDaddy. This is my GoDaddy auction. Let's go check out the sold domains. Let's see if it's not going to let me pull up the. Well, I pulled in everything from the spreadsheet. You can download all your won domain names, at least to the old system. Right up there, that little blue box is how you can download a spreadsheet of all of the domain names that you've won, which is what I did. Each of these sites, Snap Names, Namejet, GoDaddy, and then the final one being Dropcatch.com, another one. So all of these different marketplaces over the course of many, well, decades as of this point, buying domain names. And here you can see top one for here was Caymans.com. Caymans.com was $11,000, about $12,000. And then Reinforcements.com, which is going to be our company name. As of some point, we're going to be switching to that one. Got that one here as well. So there you go, Dropcatch.com, SnapNames.com, Namejet.com, GoDaddy auctions. All of those are places that we've bought domain names. And so I downloaded the spreadsheets for each of those over the course of the last few decades and summed up all of the domain purchases that we've made. So the final thing, though, is how the private party domain purchases. So we've purchased and we continue to purchase pretty frequently domain names from private parties. So these are domain names, you find a domain name, you like it, you go buy it. Or people reach out to you. Or I do those, the buy, praise, or roast domain videos occasionally where I will offer up and buy domain names if I love them. Otherwise, I'll just praise them or roast them if they're no good. So we do those, and we've bought a lot of private party domain names as well. So those, I only have included the ones that are $10,000 or more. So this number is going to be a little on the low side, but there you go. Okay, so here we go. So with all that said, in fact, let me zoom in so you cannot see the final number. Maybe we'll keep it a little dramatic. Anybody that wants to do a quick sum in their head can do it. But I do have my my GoDaddy numbers here. So I downloaded all my GoDaddy activity, which is what you can find here. That's kind of what started the thing, started things out. So you could find GoDaddy is where I've purchased like photobooths.com for $21,000. There's a video on that where I both won that auction. I was recording myself when I did it. And then later on, I met the number 2 bidder, the person that bid me up way higher than what I expected. That is a video over on the YouTube there as well. But you'll see, I've been very active as we do here for 138 weeks now. We've been doing this show, typically focusing on GoDaddy auctions because yes, Network Solutions was the past. Now GoDaddy auctions is the main place to buy aftermarket domain names and the expiring domain names. So that brings us over to here. Trying not to go too low, but okay, let me step over here. There we go. So you can see here we have GoDaddy auctions. $187,000 is what I've spent over on GoDaddy auctions. I don't know. I actually expected that number to be higher. Then Towing.com, that's the private party one where I put my house in the line after having bought Autotowing.com. Remember that one? Well, I put my house in the line, flew up to California, bought Towing.com, $175,000 domain name there. And then you'll see here is Namejet, so we brought that amount in, and that includes DJs.com. More private party ones for the dog groomers and dog groomer. And then we have Snap Names in here, $113,000. MovingCompany.com, the most expensive domain name I've ever purchased, MovingCompany.com. Also the one that I point to as the worst purchase I've ever made was MovingCompany.com, as well as more. And the grand total, anybody doing the math in your head? So the grand total is, for all these domains, is $1.4 million. $1.4 million on domain names. And that's only the ones 10,000. Oh, and then finally down there in the bottom, you can see the drop catch ones as well. So $1.4 million on domain names is what I've spent over the last 20 years now buying domain names. Craziness. So I think so I guess that means that we do have a winner, because I have to say, even though, let's see here, I'm not sure, Jeffrey, if I had posted somewhere how much I had spent, but you can't get much more accurate than that. 1.4 million is what Jeffrey guessed, and this number is a little bit on the low side because I've only included the domain names, the private ones over $10,000, and we've done a lot for $2,000-$3,000. So there you go, 1,422,378 is what we've purchased on domain names. So craziness, huh? Yeah, exactly. Jeffrey's celebrating the chat. Bruce is asking a good way to reach out to me. Twitter's the best way to get a hold of me. If you tweet at me, you can email me, but it's going to get buried. So tweet at me or direct message me is the best way to get a hold of me. Okay, well, Jeffrey figured that out. So there you go, $1.4 million on domain names over the course of 20 years. I'm both shocked that it's so low, but I'm also shocked that it's so high. I mean, for a kid from Laughlin, I honestly, I think it's a common thing for people that kind of grow up in, if you grow up in, low income areas, I think most people don't think they'll make it till 30 years old or 40 years old. I never expected to live till 30, never expected to live to 40, never expected to live long enough to be able to put together kind of such a large amount of purchases. So there you go, $1.4 million is what I have paid for domain names over the course of 20 years. Now, how the heck do I do that? Have I won the lottery or anything like that? No. The way that I've purchased $1.4 million on domain names is by buying domain names and developing domain names. The few $100,000 that I've had in selling domain names is just like extra. Like, that's not the purpose. The vast majority of revenue comes from development, which is why in all the different things that we talk about here, we talk about mainly domain names and how you can turn them into businesses. That is why, if you want to make millions, you have to develop them. You have to figure out the business aspect, not just play the middle role of passing them on to somebody else. That's not how wealth is going to be made, building, creating value. So there you go. Okay, well, with all that said, I think that there's not necessarily any questions going on. So I think it is time to look through. Enough looking back. In fact, I think I saw somebody that said, no looking back. Let me see. Well, no looking back. It is time to look forward. And that is, let's go find some domain names. We're going to go for that. Now it's time to put up that QR code. And I will put up the Discord one. So if you're going to use this, the filter code up there, do it soon because we are going to only spend a little bit of time. We are going over here, expireddomains.net. And what I'm going to do is set up my filters. My filters are now not set up because I need to change them. I forgot we did that modified search the other day. We played with the filters. So here we go. Now, nope, still wrong. Well, I was trying to keep the filter talk really quick, but evidently I need to go and do my filters. So apologies for that. So we got rid of numbers, got rid of hyphens. We are looking over the next 8 days. Oh, we got to get rid of the ones with bids. That's what it is. So Okay, so we'll fix that. And then we are looking at .com only domains, which are found on that second tab. Finally, we bring up the full list, and then we order by valuation, which you can kind of say it with me as of this point. Valuation is not the value of the domain name. The valuation is simply something we can order by. It brings hopefully the best domain names to the top. One of the things you will know and see in most of those domain names I've purchased, if you were to see the valuation of the domain name, it is typically $1,500 or less. For the sake of this show, we don't even go that far down the list. So just know, going and researching and learning how we research domain names is more important than the domain names that we talk about here, because that will allow you to look through, see that 108,000 domain names this week. 108,000 domain names. We're going to look through like 200, 400 domain names. So if you really want to be able to find the best domain names, those needles in the haystack, learn the ways that we evaluate domain names and just keep going down the list. The only thing is the further you go down the list, the less frequency you will find a domain name worth your attention. And that is why we don't keep going. Otherwise, it would just be a lot of page downing for the show. So we mentioned briefly last week, selfless.com. I'll let you go back and look at that domain name. That one is already, I will click on it to pull it up. Selfless.com, just a check-in. This one ends tomorrow. $38,000 is currently what it's going to take. It's a very selfless thing to buy a domain name for that. So I'm sure GoDaddy's like, oh, just be selfless and give us as much money as you want. So selfless.com, $38,000. We looked at it a little bit last week, so we're not going to look at that. I want to get SpyFu set up. And that will give me an opportunity to say SpyFu is this website, not a sponsor, just a tool that we use. We do not have sponsors here. Instead, we have stuff that we actually use. And yeah, there you go. Some pretty good domain names right here at the top. Tidings.com, Bonafide. Oh yeah, Sky Shopping. That one's not bad. In fact, I'll just mention this on skyshopping.com. I noticed I just was in San Diego last week, and I am a Delta person, so I fly on Delta Airlines primarily. They used to have a magazine called Sky Mall, and they got rid of it, kind of going into COVID, I think, for the most part. But they got rid of Sky Mall. But I will tell you that they are starting to give Sky Miles members free internet on flights. I don't know if you've seen this, if you fly a lot. I fly a lot, so it was kind of a big deal when they made that announcement. And I noticed a sentence on a website of theirs where it said they look forward to bringing back more of a shopping experience using the internet they give you on the flight. Just saying, Sky Shopping might be worth, in fact, I'm going to watch that one. In fact, I'll go ahead and place a bid just because why not? So just to get it registering. So what is Sky Shopping? I don't know. Paints a picture in my head. Remember, that's what we're looking for. That's one of the first tests you need with a domain name is what does the domain name paint? What picture does it put in your head? Ideally, it's color by number, so you just have to color it in. For me, Sky Shopping is shopping you do from a plane, right? Sky Shopping. You're flying, you're bored to death, you're stuck in a seat, but now you have internet and you're going Sky Shopping. There you go. Sounds like a really complicated project to build out, but that's exactly what it is, right? If you're going to be shopping while you're on a plane, skyshopping.com. Okay, so there you go. There's a quick one. CryptoTalks.com. Crypto Talk, I would prefer. Talks. I usually tend to be a plural person, but not in that case. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Lose some data, but still. MindSync, Smart Screens. I'm not a product guy, but Smart Screens seems pretty good. $1,300, ends in 4 days, adding it to my watch list. I don't typically look at products much, but when there's a good domain name, it doesn't matter whether it's a product or not. A good domain's a good domain. Let's go check it out. So now we're over in SpyFu. Here's how you research a domain name with SpyFu or whatever keyword tool you want to use. The reason why we look at .com domain names is because they are the marquee extension. You don't need to worry about the extension if you have a .com. .com is the extension. Anyone that owns a .io, .xyz, .app, any other domain name, they are always going to want to upgrade and get to the .com also. Because of that, it is the top of the mountain, it is the pinnacle, it is the top of it all. So that is why, as long as we're looking at .com, we really don't need to think about the extension. So for the most part, we ignore it and we look at the keywords of the domain name. That's that whole, what's the picture going to be, .com gone. So we drop the .com, and now you'll see it's just smartscreens.com. I'm sorry, smart screens as a keyword. And you'll see 135 monthly searches. Now this is where, and this is using the SpyFu, pulling in the keyword data that they gather from Google. The keyword data they gather from Google. The next thing I want to do is I want to do a Control F. So I highlight the words and do a Control F, or you can do a Control F and then paste the word in there. What that does is it highlights all the place that your keywords appear. In this case, it doesn't look like it's going to matter much, but you'll see later on other domain names, it matters a lot, because that shows you where your domain name, that keyword phrase, smart screens, in this case, where that shows up, we want to know. So 135 times it's been searched, but you'll see we do the Control F, and on other domain names, it's going to light up. It's going to be yellow all over the place, highlighted, but in this case, not so much. One of the reasons may be, so for example, if I get rid of the S, which I do not recommend doing that, it's helpful to, you want to do the exact, but you can see here a couple of the yellow ones popping up. So smart screen, there are some things that happen with it, but not much. So this is the plural. Finally, we go down here, we look at the money part of the keyword. This, I don't know what's going on here. I would expect this to go higher here. We got, cost per click, we got 0, and then we got 0 advertisers. Like that's surprising to me. Is that surprising to you? Yeah, there you go. I like the domain name, but it does not appear that there's much happening with it. So, based on this, it's hard to come up with it. You're going to be speculating on the value of this domain name. Do you think smart screens are going to be a thing or a bigger thing? I don't know. Do we call them smartphones still? Smartphones? We just call them cell phones anymore, right? We don't need to designate whether it's a smartphone or a dumb phone. So I'm kind of down on that. So I added to my watch list, though. Smartscreens.com, one of the first domain names, or third domain name we've looked at. Added to my watch list, $1,300 currently, but I am not bidding on that one anymore. Ends in 4 days. If you are into that tech stuff, though, you may like it. Okay. Career company. Doctor call. Yeah. If you spot something on the list that I do not call out, feel free to call it out if you want to. I'd always appreciate it. And I try to keep up with chat to make sure that if you see something. So one of two things will happen. You mention a domain name, I will be like, oh yeah, I missed that one. Let's go check it out. Other would be, I missed it, and here's why I didn't talk about it. Because that happens somewhat frequently as well. So. Glassservice.com. I have this on my watch list already, but I did not research it. I just saw that it had glass service. I thought it was worth checking out this week, so let's go check it out. I mean, 3 S's in the middle, so just so you know, like one of the things you have to keep in mind with domain names is like how does it sound? Like glass service, that sounds pretty clear. But then when you go to type it, 3 S's in the middle. There are going to be typos with that. Probably not many though. So, but just worth noting, just worth kind of having that check in your brain on the domain name. We're going to do the Control F. You see a little bit more here. There's some stuff happening. 320 searches for the domain name. Looks like window glass service near me. That's not bad. That's pretty reasonable. The only thing is look, it's just a few hundred searches for each of these, which I want more. I want lots of glass stuff. So really minor keyword stuff. A little disappointing. I thought this would be a little better of domain. 46 cents per click. I like to see it at $2 or more. And then advertisers are 0. I like to see that number at 10 or more. So this domain name is really not, it had my attention before the show, but this is why we use these tools. This is why we use SpyFood. This is why we look up data and trends, and we don't want to just go with our gut. Even my gut, which I consider an expert domain evaluating intuition, I usually am pretty good. In this case, I'm glad I looked it up. Otherwise, I would have thought this domain name would have been probably a couple $1,000s, where glass service is looking like it's going to be kind of whatever your speculation amount is. For me, that usually falls in the $600 range or so. So, oh yeah. Thank you for that. I don't know if I can move the QR code, but that is helpful to know. Well, thank you for letting me know, because yeah, I see that now. That's a pain in the butt. I definitely want it to be. Okay, well, hopefully you've scanned it. I will put up I'm going to do some stuff real quick. Live on the air. I'm going to make some changes, because that's how I roll. Hope that's okay. And let's add in, I'm going to add in a new, oh gosh. Okay, I lied. I'm not going to do that. I was going to add a new thing. So towards the end of the show, I'm going to put up the Discord server so that way you can find that. But for now, I'll keep it off because, yeah, I don't want it blocking up. So thank you for mentioning that, pointing that out, because, yeah, I don't want it blocking up the domain. So, okay, glass service, iSecurity, fish spa, down towards the bottom here. I don't know. Do we want to research fish spa? Like, every tourist town has has people that have like fish in a bucket, and you put your feet in it, and the fish eat the dead skin or something. Is that worth that? I don't know. No. Okay. I'm not going to look it up, but it's a thing. There are fish spa kind of things. TrueViews. TrueViews, a brand. TrueViews, I don't know if that's a thing. Economy Car. Those are some pretty good generic domain names. Made Green. Again, these brandables. Economy Cars, generic. Made Green, that's mostly generic. TrueViews, I'd worry about as being TrueViews is an enom domain name. That's back over here, and we don't talk about enom. Thinking of. I don't mind that one. So here's what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking of.com. I owned MovingA.com. It's like Moving A, what's that? Well, Moving A, my thought was it was basically a hack. So MovingA.com / and then you could have subdirectories of whatever it is that you were moving. So Moving A, apartment, moving a 2-bedroom house, whatever it is. And you could have moving services on that, which, as you can see, movingcompany.com being the most expensive domain name I've ever purchased. Well, moving used to be a pretty big industry for us. Well, I ended up selling Moving A, I don't remember the amount off the top of my head, but it was probably around $10,000. I'd have to look it up. But Moving A, I ended up selling. So kind of same caliber, thinking of Moving A. I'll click on it, but I will say it won't show anything on SpyFood. This will be kind of a hacky, brandable type domain name. Thinking of changing my last name, thinking of starting a YouTube channel. You could do all kinds of different things. Basically, it might be a good platform for blogging or something like that. And actually, now that I'm kind of thinking of that, how many times do I say that? Maybe I need to own this domain name, adding it to my watch list, who knows? Okay, well, thinking of, that's what I'm going with. So as you develop, a lot of times the directory structure can matter, right? Your domain name's just your home page. That's just your plot of land. What is on it is going to be up to what you develop. So if you're doing blogs or something, I think it'd be great to have like a thinking of, and then the different topics that people ponder on or work on. So going to move on from that. Soft apps. I get offers on some of my app domains, probably more than other domains. So there's probably something there, but you got to get it for cheap. Jetstreams, it's a thing. I don't know how you'd make money off of it. Like if you were to picture Jetstream or Jetstreams, what does that picture look like? What are you seeing in that case? Like, what are you going to build on it? I have no idea, so I'm going to nix it, or I'm not going to mess with it. Podcasted, maybe. Don't know what you do with that. Let's click on that. Let's go check it out. I don't need it. Podcasted. Ooh. I just was thinking, I can't remember the domain name, but Andrew Allman, not spelled, anyhow. He sold he ran a website that was podcast guests. It might be podcastguests.com. And basically it's where people can go on and say, hey, I'm open to being interviewed on podcasts about this subject. And then podcasts can find people based on expertise or subject and invite them on the podcast. This kind of seems like it would be a good domain name for a competing type thing. Podcasted. Like you can even here's my resume of the times I've been podcasted. I don't know. Not really digging it. Let's go type it into Spy Food just to see. I'm stretching on this one. So what could you put on it? I don't know. Who knows? 100 searches for it. So you can kind of see here, podcast is the main thing. It's being associated with it. No money, no advertisers. But there you go. If you're looking to create a podcast domain name, podcasted.com. Could be a fun one. Did I add it to my watch list? Yeah, I did. Not sure if I'll play with that one at all. A Real Trip? That's an Enom one, so I'm going to skip over it. Oh, I just clicked on something, not sure what, so... well, maybe we'll look at that one. Smart doorbell. Anybody liking that? Are we allowed to say smart doorbell? Isn't that, the Ring is the name of the doorbell. So if you, smart doorbell, let's go check it out. Let's check out the smartdoorbell.com. So one of the things I really like about owning the .com of any domain name is you don't have to specify the .com. Like, you don't have to specify it because of commercials like the Expedia.com commercial, which every time I say .com, I can't help but think of the Expedia, the old Ring, the old motto or music that they used to play. Expedia.com. Like, all they were doing was advertising for .com. Like Expedia.com. So now we don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about smartdoorbell.com. You just be smart doorbell, and because you own the .com, you don't have to say anything about it. 3,600. So by far the most searches we've had for the keywords that we've looked at so far. We will do the Control F for smart doorbell. This is more like it, right? Now we're seeing things light up. Smart doorbell. Part of it is because it's a singular domain name, we get all the plurals also. So you'll see here, smart doorbell has the S on the end, but it is based on smart doorbell. It's one of the ways that many people say singular is better. I personally, because of my business model, like the plural better for most domains, but could be good. I mean, you pick up some good keywords for it, and especially these back here, which are the questions that people are asking. How do I install a smart doorbell, being one of them. This here, these questions are the content for that website. So if you ever like, okay, Drew, I get it, smart doorbell, there's a picture, you're gonna put doorbell stuff, smart doorbell on this website, but I don't know anything about smart doorbells. What am I supposed to put on the site? Won't you ever tell me that? Well, I do. This is what you put on the site. Smartdoorbell.com. These are the questions that people are asking about smart doorbells. There's nothing we do here is brain surgery. It all kind of adds up and makes sense. And so right here, you answer these questions. This is the starter content on your website, and that gives you access to a few hundred extra searches and so on. See what we got as far as money? Nothing. That's actually surprising, again, that there's not much money. For people paying, it appears to be nothing. So that's part of being a product domain name. Products are horrible in the search engines. Like, products are highly competitive. In fact, you can see it here. Paid clicks is what that's showing. Difficulty, it's saying it's only 39%. Let me go do a search real quick for smart doorbell. You'll see what I mean. So this is actually better than what I usually see. You got all these ads here, but you got all these, look at this. Like, because it's a product, you're competing with all these are actual, like, you can click on this and go buy. Yes, you can format your content on your website to try to get it up in here, but I don't know. That sounds like a game that I don't necessarily care to play. What I find with products, though, is you're really up against all the heavy hitters in the search engine stuff. So those keywords that SpyFu say are available, the volume, they're not actually available unless you work your tail off in areas that I've not learned how to work my tail off in yet. So maybe that's your game. Maybe products are what you're going to be able to do. But a lot of times on these domains, there's products at the top, products on the side, which is why I avoid product domain names. They may not be competitive. It may say that it's not difficult to rank for it. But when I look at a product, I a lot of times look at the images or even go into the shopping tab up there. I don't look at the websites very often unless I'm asking a question. So basically, I don't know if ranking for that keyword would even matter all that much. So there you go, smartdoorbell.com. It's a really good domain name. If you do anything with smart doorbell type stuff, you're losing your mind right now, and you're willing to pay thousands for this, I'm sure. I'll add it to my watch list. I won't let it go for like no money, that's for sure. I value these things. If nobody's going to pay the right amount, I'll at least pay something for it. Custom mask. I'm sure that domain name was really valuable there for a little bit. Not so much anymore. They registered for a couple of years and they're like, it's not worth $10 anymore. Success data. Secret safe. That might. Oh, okay. It's an enum domain, so I'm going to skip over it. When we see enum domains, you can click on them, add them to your watch list. If it gets within 2 days of the ending auction, then in that case, do the research and possibly go ahead and look at preparing financing and bidding and stuff. The only thing is most enum domains get pulled, so I don't look at them. I have purchased some though, so I want to kind of make sure they could actually end, but really only if they get within 2 days. Home program, again, I don't know. Not really a big fan of it. Sounds good. A couple of these down here. So as I kind of mentioned, those up at the top of the list, My Happy Day, My Loco. I don't like those domains, but I do like domain names that start with my. I like my better than you. You hear me say that all the time. My over you. When we type a domain name, we take possession over that domain name versus you. If you type you, you're saying somebody else. This is for somebody else. If you're saying like myproducts.com or something, it's my products. These are mine versus your products. Like, what? Why am I typing that? If you do it and you think about what's happening in your brain, you'll realize my is better than you when it comes to a domain name. In my expert, professional marketing experience, which is why I buy my domains versus yours. Oh, that's actually funny, yeah. Okay. Drug coupons, sleep longer. I don't know if I want to sleep longer. I just want to sleep better. Can you even see that? Anyhow, that's Zoononic. I feel like I've seen this domain name a bunch of times. Dare to Lead. Okay, let me just, this is a good opportunity just to kind of give you we talked a little bit about spelling and domain names earlier. If you remember Glass Service, I believe it was, with the 3 S's, and I said just kind of be mindful of it. This is one of those examples. Buy is one of those words that you need to watch out with. Any word, what are the synonyms? Synonyms, I believe, are words that are spelled differently but sound the same. Buy, to. So anytime you're using those words in a domain name, you have to understand the value of that domain name plummets, okay? It just is, like for example, buysports.com. I would, if I heard that, I would assume it's B-U-Y. I don't know why, but if I hear a domain name, I assume somebody's making money, and if it's going to be money, it's going to be B-U-Y, not B-Y. So just one of those things to note is can the word be spelled numerous ways? It's one of the, so buy is one of those words. 2, I also always talk about or warn against numbers in a domain name. For example, if it was sports5.com, well, is it spelled out? Is it the number 5? Like, what is it? Because of that, using a number in a domain name is not necessarily a positive thing to do unless you own all options. If you spell out 5 and also have the number 5, then in that case, you're good to go. You can go for it. I see those infomercials on TV all the time. They use they try for tracking purposes. They have mygiftideas45.com. And you can see it on the screen, so you probably have a chance of remembering it, but I'd probably come up with a better way to track it. Anyhow, petgadgets.com, I like that one. It's not you, it's my. Exactly, take possession over it. The person typing that domain name is going to take possession over it. So, petgadgets.com. One of the tricks that I think about with domain names is, in businesses in general, is I look for discretionary income. What are things that people are going to spend money on even if the economy crashes, even if things go haywire? What is going to happen? Well, that's part of, I spent many years running some motorcycle-related websites, because motorcycles are both practical, but at the same time, in the United States especially, motorcycles are discretionary income. They are a bonus thing. They're something that you take out on the weekend and go cruising. Those who are enthusiastic about motorcycles, that's not a requirement. It's discretionary. It's something that they just have the money to spend on. Same with pets, right? Especially petgadgets.com. 44 searches, not really much happening for that. But I have a feeling it could be a pretty fun brand. My trick is not working. I was having all kinds of technical difficulties before the show. Okay, so here you go. There's some keywords. It lights up, but just look at these numbers here. You're only talking about a dozen or so people searching for each of those different keywords. So really not a whole lot happening. 59 cents in the money, no advertisers. But I think you have a pretty good brand. People can hear it. Pet Gadgets. What do you expect to find on there? Sounds like pretty fun pet stuff. For that reason, I still love this domain name, but that is with my investor hat on, not necessarily my want to develop it into our business model hat. So Pet Gadgets is going to get a watch list. Although it's $235 currently, ends in 5 days. That's probably good enough for, I don't know, we'll see. I'm not sure what my max bid on that would be, but hey, there you go, petgadgets.com. Used auto dealers, not bad. I'll leave that for somebody else to go research. There you go, that's a good one to go do exactly what we've been doing. Go check out the keyword data on it. There are a lot of auto dealers out there. I mean, drive up the streets between my office here and my house, you'll see a dozen different used car lots and things. So they're used auto dealers. So I hope my nose squeaking is not showing up on the mic, because my nose is squeaking every time I breathe out of it. Kind of funny. Move Crypto, we might have saw that last week. Not a huge fan of it. Backpacker Insurance. My Chairs. See, that one, I run searches to look for my related domains. That one I like. But the thing about my in front of a domain name is it's just a word being added to it. I'd much rather own Chairs for this reason right here. Once you toss that into SpyFu, you're going to see nobody's actually searching for My Chairs. Less than 20 a month. So there's really nothing really happening, but it could be a good website for selling chairs or talking about chairs on. So because of that, I like it. But for a domain name, if you're looking for what I look for, exact match domain names, matching keywords, matching people going out to Google and searching, that's what I want to see. I want to see those searches. I want to see that volume. I want to see a towing.com caliber, a let's see, what about smart doorbell? Like, remember how we saw that volume? People are actually looking for that. That is what I want to see. That is how you know that domain name has value. Everything outside of it, if you don't have data to back it up, is speculation. You can make money off speculation, but it is speculation. You are taking a guess, even if it's based on experience, that you will be able to sell that domain or do something with it. So there you go. Recommended books. Ooh, I'm clicking on it anyways. Okay, recommendedbooks.com. Almost 2 days away, so I'm going to add it to my watch list because okay, we'll look at it. But it's going to get pulled back, and I'm not going to be happy about it, but we'll spend a little time on it because it's close. But I do like the domain name. So let's see what it does search volume-wise. Yeah, good. Okay, 1,700 exact searches. Book recommendations is 13,000. Didn't expect that. So book recommendations is the preferred way to say it, but recommendedbooks.com, pretty reasonable volume on it. We went ahead, Control F, and you see there are other places. We have some different things happening here. Bill Gates recommended books for business communication. Even some over here in this questions and answer, how to remove recommended books from Kindle Fire. If you figure that out, let me know. That's why they are cheap, is because they pay for ads. You have to pay Amazon more to be able to take them off. That's the secret. I know this and you have to wait like 3 months or something like that for your Kindle if you don't want their ads on it. Okay, I'm obviously a Kindle user, but so 6 advertisers happening here, and then 54 cents per click is what we have. So there's some money happening there, not much. I like to see, of course, 10 advertisers, $2 or more per click. But recommended books, this is something that anyone could use, right? You could use this domain name, or you could create a list where anyone can come in and have their recommendations. Through Kindle, it syncs with goodread.com or goodreads.com or something like that. Same kind of thing, right? Here's Drew Wash's recommended books. I have certain books that I recommend all the time. You ask me about what entrepreneurship books you recommend. I always start with what part of the journey are you in? Entrepreneur Roller Coaster by Darren Hardy, or if you're just kind of starting down the path, you can go with by Darren Hardy, Compound Effect. If you're already running a business and you're really just kind of struggling with getting it going, E-Myth Revisited. I think it's Michael Gerber that did that. There's certain books that I've read, I really enjoy, and I have multiple copies that I hand out to people when they ask questions. So, but yeah, there's my recommended books. Put them up on a website. Not sure how you'd make money necessarily. Probably links to Amazon. That's exactly how you do it. That's how you create a website and then make money through an affiliate link. You don't even have to create the content. You're just putting it up there to where others, you can use the tool for free. List your recommended books, you send it out, whatever else. But the affiliate links, they pay us. Or maybe they could pay to use their own links or something like that. I like it. NFT ideas. NFTs have had their day. Oh gosh, it's after 4 o'clock. I'm rolling, man. What can I say? I love domains. I'm just going with it. Okay, 5 days left on this one. NFTideas.com. I'm not going to do a SpyFu on it, but there you go. Pretty good domain name, ends in 6 days. Why do I like it? I don't necessarily like it all that much. Like I said, NFTs were a long time ago, aka a year or so. Okay, well, here we go. With that said, I think it is time that we wrap things up. Actually, let me run through and do a quick summary of the domain names we talked about. We just put up NFTideas.com, ends in 6 days, $12 currently. That's one of those domains. Anytime you see $12 or less, do not bid until the last 5 minutes, ideally. But it does have a bidder, so you will need to bid on it. You cannot wait for a buy now. Somebody already has a bid on it. RecommendedBooks.com, add it to my watch list, $95 currently. I like this one. It will get a couple $100 out of me. I will wait to bid on it though. 3 days left on the auction. MyChairs.com, you know, what is it adage he said? It's not you, it's my. There you go. MyChairs.com. I didn't add to my watch list. Oh, it's because I'll see it later on when I do my filtered searches. Ends in 5 days. There you go. PetGadgets.com, one of my favorite domain names from today, PetGadgets.com. Ends in 5 days, $235 left. Discretionary income type of domain name. Go after that pet market. Smart Doorbell, best search volume we saw of the day, I believe. SmartDoorbell.com, $116, ends in 6 days. Podcasted. No search volume really happening, but as you can see, people want to enter the podcast industry. Podcasted.com, $756, ends in 2 days. Thinking of, just a domain name hack, $20 currently, has a couple bids, ends in 4 days. Thinking of buyingthis.com. Yeah, who knows? Glassservice.com, thought it would be better than it is, but $510 currently, ends in 3 days. Numbers did not make it look all that good, but you can see others like me did like the domain name. And smartscreens.com. We had smart doorbells, now we have smart screens, which ironically, smart screens going for more even though the keyword volume was horrible. That's because people expect smart screens in the future. They're just not here yet, maybe. Maybe that's what it is. $1,300 is what it is going for currently, ends in 4 days. And then finally, skyshopping.com, put a bid in on it just because, hey, flying on the plane, got to go shopping. Skyshopping.com sounds like a thing. Ends in 2 days, $305 currently. And then finally, selfless.com, we've talked about this a little bit, ends tomorrow, up over $38,000. There you go. Boom. Well, hopefully you found, like I do see out here already, entrepreneur names saying that they have an idea for a domain, book domain. So there you go. And yeah, I shared it out on the Discord server, which actually, let me put that up on the screen now that we are towards the end. Here is the Discord server. It'll be up there for the last couple moments. When I was there, I shared it out on Twitter as well, that I did a Chat GPT search and managed to find a domain name. Of course, it doesn't work for most of them, but some information out there on the Discord server. Join us. You can scan that QR code to get to that Discord server. It is where domain to profit people hang out. Not just here live, but there as well. So in fact, for some of you that are out there that watch on Restream, but would love to watch live and stuff. That is where you can interact with the community just like you would here in the chat during the live broadcast. So check us out, especially if you're a restreamer. Say hi and join us out there. And with that said, and then, of course, what, $1.4 million on domain names. I hope you have been working your way towards whatever millions of dollars domain names, or just building, turning that domain name into profit, or domain name into something that's worth living for. Create something great. I know you will. I'm Drew Wash. This is Domain to Profit. I will see you next week right here at 3 p.m. Take care.